I've had different pages repost me too. So like Slam, when I started putting like those little highlights together of the players of like Mac McClung was at least sharing or liking my stuff was PJ Dozier. He was in the league for a few years. They might have the best two-way guys.
Welcome to the NBA 2K League show. I'm your host, Varun, and welcome to the show. So, we got episode 3, guys, of the summer series. We got Elliot Day, who is the creator of NBA 2K League, the Instagram account. I'm super excited because I met Elliot back at the showcase this past December, and we've really been chopping it up about the G League ever since. And to be able to hear about his journey with his Instagram today, it's going to be awesome. And we're going to talk about some of the off-season moves that has been going on in the G League, and it's just going to be a good episode, guys. Like, stay tuned, and don't be afraid to hit that subscribe, that like button, and just enjoy this video. So, here's episode 3 of the summer series. All right, guys, we are back with Elliot. So, Elliot, thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you. I think, for me, one of the most important things I always like to ask all my guests is what made you get into basketball?
Basketball. So growing up, I played basketball starting at about like fourth grade. From that point on, it just carried over from me playing to just watching to playing the video games to following it. So yeah, probably just at a young age, just playing basketball, playing AAU, uh, realizing that I probably won't be going D1, being 5'6". So yeah, just that kind of where it carried, just becoming a fan of the game, just watching other players, following like recruiting, things of that nature growing up. So it's always been in me, honestly, since I was a kid.
Amazing, amazing. And I know we've talked a lot about the G League, and I know you've been following it since it was a D League. Can I just ask you, like, how did you get into the D League? And also, like, what made you even get into NBA 2K too? Like, I guess I think the audience would love to know just like your passion about like both 2K but also the D League as well.
I remember playing NBA Live, and this was before like D League and all that, but I used to play NBA Live with like the lower rated players. And I don't know why, but it's like I always was like, let me use these guys or the worst team per se on the game. Like I would always use the worst team or like the worst guys. I'll go on the free agents. I always did that. Um, and then I think like yeah, as I got older and then like the D League, G like that's kind of why. But it actually really started from NBA Live. It started off just being a fan of the league itself, of the D League. I remember I went to a game in like 2012, the Austin Toros at the time, now the Austin Spurs. And I remember going there and just seeing Corey Joseph at the time, I believe it was his rookie year. And I just remember seeing him play and just sitting like right there on the court, for like $9. I was just like, wow, this is pretty cool, seeing like NBA players that close, just being able to like basically shake their hand just like that. Like it just felt like surreal, compared to like an NBA game where you have to pay a lot of money to be that close. So probably at like 2012, I'd say going to the game in person, like my first D League game and seeing Corey Joseph, seeing some other players at the time and just like yeah, it carried from there. And I remember going back to my dorm. I was going to school in Austin for like a year. And I remember going back to my dorm and like putting Corey Joseph on like a Spurs team, but I took like Duncan and all the real players off and I like tried to reenact that. And that's like where the video game part came. Like I was like, yeah, like I want to do something similar to that, but like with D League players. So from there, it just kind of went forward. Like I just used to put random players or try to create really low rated players, even though they weren't like the real D League players at the time. And yeah, just like reenact it like that. Kind of like the kid in me that was still, even though I was in college at the time, was like I just wanted to like reenact what I just watched, basically.
I think I totally feel that. I think for me it was like I watched, was it Simbular, and it was cool because he was like the first basketball player of Indian descent in the NBA. But for me, like being like my family from India, like seeing that was like super cool. Like, and then like I was always like, oh, it'd be cool to make him in the game too. And then so in a similar way, like I get that where there's like there's a player who kind of draws you, and then I think the cool thing about the like D and G League is like you start rooting for these guys, and yeah, no, I think that's a really cool thing you just said.
Sure, yeah. I and then like I remember at the time too, like so Corey Joseph played for UT. So like just the year before he was in Austin. So then like the next year, the year I watched him play, he was on the Spurs in San Antonio, which is down the road. But to see him just come back, and he's only like maybe a year older than me, a year or two older. So our ages were similar. It just felt like it felt like I found someone that I could like I was living my dream through because we were in the same city. Our colleges, like, so I went to a small college right outside of UT, 5 minutes away. So it just felt like a road to glory type thing, like it was weird. But yeah, that's how it all kind of started, I'd say, between the D League and then the 2K. It literally started after that game, honestly.
That's awesome. So I guess like what then made you really interested in this idea of like starting the Instagram account? Like where did this kind of idea come from? Because it's something you're so passionate about.
The Instagram, so there was another account on Instagram that, well, there's a few accounts, but there was another account similar, and they would post NBA 2K stuff, but they would post like if there was a trade in the NBA, he would post like the player in the new uniform. And I always wanted to find that page because I couldn't remember. I know it was like NBA 2K, like news or something similar like that, but like he would post like if a rookie got drafted, like or traded or whatever, he would post that new photo of it in their 2K, like the 2K photo version of it. So I figured I could do something similar, but just G League. Because, at the time, this is like 2017, nobody's really like, there's a few people out there, but like it wasn't like how it is now. But I just wanted to do something maybe similar, but just like straight G League, like in my own lane, basically.
I think too something, and what I find very interesting is how the G League has really grown like over the years. I mean, well, maybe when you started flying, and was that like how many teams? There had to have been like 12, 13, well, maybe 18 ish teams, but now we're at like 31.
Yeah.
I guess what has that been like from a fan perspective? Like just getting to see the growth of the G League, especially now every team has one officially.
Yeah, I mean, it's it has its good and bad, but like obviously the good is that it's growing, it's gotten popular. Uh, you can pretty much watch every game now. I remember at one point you couldn't watch every game as easily. Like you would have to kind of find it on YouTube or just like, I don't know, satellite. You had to, there's like back routes you had to find the games, but now everything's so easy, ESPN Plus. So it's definitely grown in a positive way. Also, like seeing the Ignite, the G League Ignite, that was like to see that from start to finish. I'm kind of sad that finished, but to see that from start to finish was interesting. I never would have thought that would have came about like that, basically creating a team for players to skip college to try to go to the NBA. So I mean that was pretty eventful. Um, I do miss the smaller scale of the G League though, like, or I would say even like going back to the D League, it just felt like it was like a smaller community. But that I think that's just kind of like the nostalgia in me, maybe. I don't know if I necessarily just miss that, but I feel like I miss when it was just small and like you kind of just knew all the players because there was only like you said, like 18 teams or something. So yeah, I mean, it's good and bad, but it's more so good that it's definitely grown and evolved because of that, my page has grown too.
A good point, because I think there is that nostalgia feel that even like I remember when I was like growing up following it, like yeah, even especially when they rebranded to the G League, like with Gatorade, I was like, oh wow, like that completely started giving it like a new change because of all the, I guess, the funding, but also like some of the more facilities and they got as like part of it. I guess I'm wondering, like, when you had your Instagram, and how have you been able to like grow it over the years? Like, has it been mostly just like more of these like teams like getting more of a fan base? Is it just the popularity of NBA 2K growing? Like, how has the page grown over the years?
Um, Good question. I think it's grown. Well, it's still growing. I don't have like the most followers per se, but in the G League community, I'm pretty sure it's pretty known. Like if you follow the G League, which is a pretty particular league, it's like watching the UFL or something. Like you probably know or have seen my page, but I'd say it's grown over time just from like the beginning. I remember just posting certain players and they would just like reshare it or maybe post it themselves and tag me, stuff like that. That was kind of like the slower build up for it. Also, I used to try to post players that weren't as popular. So like it might not have been the guy that like you knew was going to get like let's say a two-way guy. I would try to pick the guy that maybe was a tryout player who made it, try to post him, and then try to build from that. But that's kind of like how I initially did it. And then from there, I would say like the biggest impact was like when G League TV, so like Jeff, Jeff, but like G League TV started posting my stuff, or like we would collab, and that's when it just kind of like 2,000 followers like over like in a week. And then it just kept building from there. And then like I've had different pages repost me too. So like Slam, like some of the G League pages themselves have shared my stuff. So like just like constantly like building over time, I think has just kind of kept it going and going and going.
I think that's super cool to hear, like how different people, like different outlets, like GTV Hoops or even Slam or even the G League teams, were able to, you all were able to collaborate in that sense. That is like a really unique thing. I think too, it's like when you're making these, because you make the rosters. I remember like you share the rosters on like on 2K for people to play with. What is that process like to really go through and make all the guys? Because there's a lot of players, and I'm curious, like for fans, is there any sort of like collaboration process with other 2K roster creators in the community? And I guess is it a lot like, do you watch a lot of film too on guys when you're making each player?
Yeah, I would say definitely it takes a lot of time. That's probably the hardest part with it is like you have to actually want to do it because it's going to take forever. Because if I'm trying to make the roster as accurate as I want, and when I say accurate, I mean like how the person looks, their tattoos, are they left-handed, right-handed, stuff like do they wear like a high sock on one leg but a low, like all of that takes so much time. Like, so if I really want the roster to be good, it can take a week to make one team like complete. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I end up having to watch like videos on certain players, to be honest, because in the G League, well, there's a lot of players who played like D2, D3, or just like smaller conferences in Division One. So there's not like a lot of, highlights per se that you can watch and be like, oh, this player dunks a lot, or this player does this or does that. So yeah, just having to watch their film, that can take some time to make sure their jump shot is accurate. I would say over the years though, I've kind of found like different ways to kind of create it at a better pace. So I'll focus more so just on their appearance. And then as far as their ratings or their attributes and stuff, I'll use like player DNA. So with the player DNA, I'll try to find like the lowest rated guys just to keep the ratings accurate. So I'll find like a two-way guy that might be similar in height or position. I'll import the player DNA. If you play 2K, I'll import the player DNA and then I'll just update things here and there based off of like their film I see. So like if Bronny James is a 68 and I'm creating a guy on a G League team, I want to have him either be at a 68, maybe a little above if he's better, or maybe slightly under, but I try to keep everybody in the same realm, I'd say. And then like yeah, just updating, their jump shot and their look. Other than that, but sometimes that can actually be the fun part, when you feel like, dang, I really created this guy just off of a default player, and then next thing you know, it's like it kind of looks like them. I mean, as close as I can. Also, the one thing I will say though with it over the years is like especially the more my Instagram has grown, is like I'm a little more careful before I post a player because you'll get somebody that'll comment like that looks nothing like them or that who was that? And it's just like, that can kind of alter like if you even want to like post the players anymore. So you just like you try to make it as similar as you can. But hey, it is what it is. I've been doing it for so long that I've just kind of grown to like, creating the rosters every year. I kind of look forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's funny because it kind of reminds me of like almost like painting when you're doing like a painting of somebody, and because you have all these tools from 2K, and you're having to like look at a lot of photos and try to get their, I guess, appearance very similar. So yeah, that's very unique, but that is super cool. I guess, is there any like cool stories of any like players who have like kind of reached out and just taught you? I think you told me one time that like Robert Baker will sometimes repost because he's like I don't know if he still is the president of the G League, but yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was just curious if like you had any cool stories about that.
Yeah. Robert Baker, yeah, I mean he usually always supports. Like he's one of the few that like he'll at least like it or reshare it or just be like, thanks. Like so that's always cool. Like when you post a player, knowing like the amount of time you took to create them, at least they can be like appreciate it or thank you or whatever. So yeah, he's one. I remember when I first started, like one of the NBA players that first kind of like was at least sharing or liking my stuff was PJ Dozier. He was in the league for a few years. So yeah, he was kind of like one of the initial ones where I was like, okay, like at least I have like a few, like I have some players in the league who kind of at least know the page. Cause like I was posting him early, like when he was, I want to say he was on Maine Red Claws or and then there's just players like I would say every year, especially around when the season is just starting or like when 2K first releases, like when I release the roster, I'll have players every year message me and be like, hey, post mine. I want to see how mine looks or what's the roster name. They'll go on there and they'll play I'll see them. They might send me like a little clip of them playing it or something. So yeah, I mean it's definitely cool seeing like the players actually react to it. That kind of gives me more fulfillment, honestly, because then I feel like, it'll make them want to, get to the next step too. Like if I'm on the game or if somebody's creating me on the game, like I could maybe one day actually be on 2K. So I like that, just that feeling of like somebody created me or I'm on the 2K like that's pretty dope.
I really love that. I think that's an amazing thing, like way to think about it, because I mean, to see them like be even more invested and this, show like people out there really care and want to play with them. Like, I think that's amazing. Truly. I guess something that I've been finding very interesting with like social media over the years is how we're becoming like in this digital age of like how there's more short form content. Like with TikTok, there now it feels like a lot of social media apps are gradually like copying and doing a lot of similar things. Especially now with AI too, it's giving potentially more of an impact of how like creators can do content creation. So I guess I'm wondering, has the rise of like TikTok and short form content and just the change of social media and AI like impacted the way you've like created content for your page?
Yeah, most definitely. I would say especially Instagram Reels. Um, I tried TikTok for a while there. I was kind of sitting in like a dead zone. So whenever I would upload, I would hit like a 200 view count and it just kind of set. But so I kind of focused more of my energy just on the Instagram page itself. But like my Instagram Reels at one point, like we're just kind of going viral. So that's also, I would say that would play a key role in my page getting a little bigger over time. It's just like when I started putting like those little highlights together of the players of like Mac McClung or like, any of the players, I would make like little clips of them dunking and crossing over, shooting threes. I remember I made a video of Nicolo Mannion. I might have butchered his name, but he was playing for the Italian team. So I had like a video of him in the Italy jersey, like just going crazy. Like those videos like that, the reels, I feel like are what kind of gets people from the outside to at least view the page. Cause like on a regular day, they're probably not searching G League stuff, but like when they're scrolling at night or something, they might see this video pop up and they're like, who made a video of Mac McClung? Like who, it's kind of random, even though for us that's normal, like, to follow like G League content and stuff. So yeah, the reels for sure, it kind of changed like how I even like approach it. So like I used to only just post like simple photos of like a player in their jersey or a player, I might say like, oh, this player had 20 points last night, and then it would be a picture of them with their jersey. But with the reels, it kind of brings it to life, I'd say. So you're like, whenever I post the reels now, it's like, how do I download the roster? Like that's usually the first thing I'll get messaged. How do I download the roster? How do I download? Because they actually see it and they're like, I didn't know you could play the G League on 2K, which surprisingly every day that I get asked that same thing. Like, how do you play with the G League, or they just didn't know like every single day. So that's the cool thing too, is like every day you kind of realize like, okay, this is getting bigger. What can I do next? But also like a lot of people just still don't know. As much as we think like, in our G League world per se, like everybody understands like you can play, like no, like a lot of people just don't know, and every day it's the same thing. So it's pretty cool.
For sure, for sure. I guess like something I was also thinking about was what with the growth of like the G League and 2K. So I believe was it 2K21 is when they added the G League. 2K did into I think my league. I guess I'm wondering like it seemed like they were they've been trying to do a little bit more with the G League over the years. I guess I'm wondering, what do you think about what 2K has done to G League? Do you think there's still room for them to grow, or do you think they've done more than you were initially expecting? Do you think like what do you think right now is the state of the G League in the game, and what can 2K do if anything to improve it for players who really love the G League and 2K?
Yeah, I remember when they first added the teams, I thought it was going to end up growing into something a lot bigger. Because before that, we had to basically create the jerseys, the arenas to import it. There was no like play now version of it, even in my league. So that was cool for them to add that, but it hasn't really changed since that moment. I do think it can still grow. They just have to figure out how to maybe implement it more into the game itself. Even with my career or my league, any my NBA, any mode you play in some form, they should have it where it should be more how do I say it? There should be more you can do within it, I'd say. Because right now they just have the teams, but they have a bunch of default characters. Some of the ratings are a little unrealistic. You have like 7'3", 84 center, overall center, like just stuff like that. I'd say like it's just there. It's just kind of taking up space. So they definitely could do more. I would hope one day that we could finally get the G League rosters. I mean, a lot of the players are already on the game. I don't know why. We can't just at least have half the team, the players that they own the rights to, there's a lot of players in the free agents they have rights to. They could just add on to the G League. So hey, I know they're starting to do more, I'd say, with the WNBA. I would love to see them do the same thing with the G League as well. Like just let us be able to, do more with it. We can't even use it in play now. So, they have it on the roster, much like the classic teams. You can play with the classic teams on play now. You can do season modes. You can do pretty much anything with it. But with the G League teams, they're just there. Like it's kind of yeah. So I think they can definitely grow and do a lot more if they're gonna have it in the game.
I believe because this past 2K they had this whole, I don't even know how to say it, the glitch where it was like somebody from PC can like then take the rosters and move them over to like play now, which that I really hope, fingers crossed, that's in 2K26, because that would be awesome. So yeah, I thought that was a great thing that happened because I think it made it so much easier for people to be able to play the game, especially in like play now. And then I believe also in 2K26, they're gonna do my GM might have a custom roster mode. So I think that would be pretty cool. Like for a fan to be able to like use a G League roster and then be able to like yeah do like their own like G League mode in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I hope they add more to it. Because with how big 2K is, that it's the only basketball game we have. So they have full control over what they want us to be able to do and what we can't do. Um, and with content creation just only getting bigger and bigger with TikTok, everything, like I'm just surprised that they don't just allow us to do a little bit more or have some type of personalization with it. Like I think a lot of people who don't play like my career, we're looking for another thing to be able to do on 2K, and that would be one of the things I would say, being able to actually use the G League. Even if you're playing just regular my NBA mode, just being able to go back and forth and be able to manage both teams like in total, that would be great. So we'll see. I every year I have hopes that the next 2K is gonna have more we can do, and then and then the 2K comes and I'm like, all right, well, we just gotta create the roster and live with what we got.
No, for sure. Can only hope. Man. We at least at the time of recording this video, we got like 1 week till 2K26. So yeah, I'm really excited. So I think now I wanted to get into a little bit of some of the G League moves that have been happening this offseason. I think, as I was talking about in the intro, I think this is about to be a really good discussion to talk about some of the, I guess, off-season things that have been happening this summer. So I'll kind of first ask this first question to you, Elliot. So what do you who do you think has so far NBA like G League team wise had the best two-way contract signings?
Okay, 2K signings. I'll probably go with Birmingham or New Orleans. Uh, I like I know they got uh Bryce, and they also got Trey Alexander, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I would say that team for sure. I also like what the Clippers did with Jordan Miller. I mean, there's quite a few out there. Um, Capital City Go-Go, like this is the thing I would say right now, because we're still like in the off season, is like with the two-way contracts. I also factor in like Exhibit 10 deals as well. So like hopefully I'm kind of hoping like those Exhibit 10 guys actually go to the teams they're with right now. Um so yeah, I think the San Diego Clippers though are gonna be nice. They're gonna be nice.
Yeah, I was telling a friend this like it's wild. I actually can kind of say this has happened today. I think there was a trade. It was like a four-team trade. So it was what like Alfred Payne and Taylor Funk got traded to like San Diego. I think to my understanding, Taylor Funk last year, I think somebody told me this at a game or something. Like the Clippers were interested in bringing him in to like the organization, but I think the Wizards wanted to keep him. So I didn't know too much like if that how true that it is or not. But I guess now it looks like it kind of is because they just trade for him. So they got him, and then I think yeah like. I'm very curious. Like DJ Carton got traded to Birmingham, so that's just making that team even better. It's like, yeah, so really excited.
Has like with that DJ Carton trade per se, like Birmingham has a lot of guards, young guards too. So that team should be pretty deep as well this year. So like going back to your question though, as far as like the two-way guys, like with the Bryce and Trey, and then like you factor in DJ Carton.
Mm,
I know they drafted Fears in the draft. So like yeah, it'll be interesting. They're gonna have a lot of guards, but it makes
yeah.
it for a high scoring team though.
Yeah, I mean, and then I don't know if it's confirmed. I guess we'll see. But if Jalen McDaniels too does sign Exhibit 10, then yeah, even he might join the fold there. I don't know yet if that's confirmed, but yeah, they have a very interesting team because Bryce McGowan's I thought he was like really good last year in the G League too. So yeah, I'm excited.
I think yeah, no, Bryce McGowan's he in my opinion, he should be on a regular contract. But I mean I'm pretty biased. I'm sure you are too, being a G League fan, but no, I like Bryce's game. He's a bigger point guard as well. Um Similar to Banton,
Mm.
they both went to Nebraska, I believe. So yeah, just I like big guards who move the ball, can pass, stuff like that. I would prefer, like if I was a GM or coach, I would prefer my guard to be like a bigger guard, pass first, like to be able to control the offense and the tempo of the game, like for sure.
Oh, totally. I guess I'm trying to figure out what my answer would be to two-way signings. I think I honestly, I'm been torn. I would either say the 76ers or the Rockets. I think the Rockets, them adding JD Davidson was very interesting. I wasn't expecting them to go after. I was expecting JD Davidson to like maybe go to a team where it's not like as competitive and he has a better shot. So I was a little surprised ultimately, but I think was it Ime Udoka was technically the one who drafted him when he was still at Boston. So I think what they also have Isaiah Crawford and Kevon Harris. So I think that could be also a pretty good team in Rio Grande Valley.
You know what? Now that you said it, they might have the best two-way guys. Like they're definitely like top five.
Oh yeah.
Because JD Davidson, like, I mean, yeah, he's one of the best guards in the G League. K Harris, dynamic guard, really good as well. So yeah. In RGV, they always have high scoring teams every year. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that team shakes this year.
Oh, for sure. I guess then going into a second of our, I guess, discussion here is which G League team do you think? I guess we kind of have discussed this, but which G League team do you think is probably like the best so far? I guess we kind of did say Exhibit 10s in two ways, but is there any other G League teams who really stand out so far this off season?
Just off the top of my head, like no, like being able to search, I would say Capital City Go-Go. And I know you're familiar with them being up in that area, but like I see they just traded for Scal LaBCA's rights like today, I believe. Um, they acquired Alondis Williams. So yeah, like I like what the Capital City Go-Go are doing. They're also a young team, so I know a lot of their guys will be getting shipped back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the team being so close to the Wizards themselves. So right now, I would say the Go-Go. They look like, just from like a talent perspective, they look like the nicest team. Also, I always think about it from like a 2K perspective too. Granted, we get like a lot of the players actually on the game. Like, yeah, I would go with them, and also the Clippers,
Mm.
San Diego Clippers. If their players that are on Exhibit 10 deals come down, Patrick Baldwin Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
and like some other
Jason Preston,
Jason Press, exact.
Ty Ty, Washington.
Like those three alone, if they go there, and then they have Jordan Miller as yeah,
Yeah.
that team's gonna be nice. Like that team stands out to me the most, honestly. Like I said, like if you're gonna factor in like Exhibit 10 deals and things of that nature, like yeah, the Clippers should be. The Clippers from the West, the Go-Go from the East. Opposites, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on the Gogo side, I think it's interesting is like Scal. I remember actually at the showcase. I don't know if you had watched. It was the Gogo when they played the Stockton Kings that day, but I remember Scal was like doing really well against the Go-Go. So I thought that was very like interesting when they like decided to trade for him and he signed the Exhibit 10 this past week. Because I was thinking like they need some more big men depth because they have like Tristan Vucevic, but kind of behind that they don't have a lot of bigs. So I was like, oh, perfect. This is great. You bring in a G League champion, a recent one, and then he can be a good mentor for some of these other guys. Like yeah, I thought it was a great move. So, and yeah, I love Alondas Williams too. Like, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do up there in DC.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess then the last question of our discussion is: has there been any trades that have really like stood out to you? Like, I guess any specific teams that have like maybe made a trade that you've seen so far that you were like really intrigued by?
Hmm. I mean, the one that happened today was pretty interesting with Elfrid Payton and DJ Carton. Um, I don't know if that's just maybe because that's like the freshest one on my mind, but other than that, like I don't know. It's so hard to say like with the trades and stuff because like it's hard with the G League. You never know who's gonna actually join the team for the season. So like I've noticed over the years with the G League, like there'll be all these off-season trades or they acquire this person's rights, things of that nature, and then the player never even joins the team because they're playing in Jerusalem somewhere, or Israel, like they're just somewhere far. So yeah, I would say like I mean the one like I said today, the one from today, or maybe I want to say that one of the Thompsons brothers got traded recently, maybe. Um,
Thompson brother, which one was it?
Ethan.
Oh yes, Ethan Thompson to the Skyforce from
Yeah.
Osceola. Yeah.
That I mean, and then like I said, Alondas Williams going to the Go-Go was a big deal. Yeah, I would say my knowledge for the trades is kind of shaky, kind of fuzzy, just because of like I said, like it's hard to keep up with that, not knowing who's really going to join who, or somebody will get traded and then still sign a training camp deal with somewhere else. Yeah, but we'll see. The one takeaway I'd say from this offseason in particular is it seems like a lot of guys are going overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that impacts a few things. Like it impacts like obviously the 2K community. If you play the 2K G League, like the more guys that I see that were actually on the game now that are going overseas, it's kind of like they might be on the game, but they won't be on the roster. So yeah, I don't know. I hope for as many players as are leaving that they, get some other guys to come back, just to keep that balance of like guys that we've kind of grew up watching or have already played in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to say. I saw it's another trade. Dink Pate. I don't know if you saw this. He got traded to Westchester for Boo Boo, I believe, but which makes sense because he played Knicks summer league. So yeah, I thought that was also a pretty cool trade. But I think you're definitely right because I feel like there's a lot of competition for like spots in the NBA, and then what's also interesting is like how NIL I think is also I think it affects it because I feel like if you're I don't know exactly the salary of a player in NIL, but imagine there's 4 affiliate player spots, meaning like if a guy goes undrafted, they have to sign one of those affiliate player spots to get the Exhibit 10 bonus. And if there's only 4 of those, it's like 120 spots. And so like if 120 guys who go undrafted are trying to get to the G League that way to get the bonus, then I guess it's like, well, if they don't get the bonus and they sign a G League contract, that's like 40K range, versus if they just stay in school and just do NIL, they can make a lot more. And I think that's also like a very interesting way. It's like seems like that side of it. It also kind of is impacting a little bit of a G League probably too.
Yeah, no, it's NIL for sure. I think it's impacting the G League. It's also impacting like all of professional sports to some extent, like kind of off topic, but I noticed like the NFL, a lot of these players nowadays they're playing 4, 5, 6 years because the NFL is so short-lived that they can stay in college, maybe go to a SEC school and make six figures,
Oh wow.
just playing football. So I feel like it's kind of the same for basketball as well. Like a guy who might have, probably came out in their sophomore year, they can maybe transfer to another school, get a big payday, decide if they want to come out again. If not, I'll transfer to another school, or maybe stay and get another big NIL deal. So yeah, no, the NIL as well as the Ignite ending, I feel like it's gonna change the trajectory of just like players in the G League in general. We'll start seeing older players coming in as well, I believe, like 24, 25 year olds, first year in the G League compared to like in the past, a guy doesn't get drafted. I mean, it's either the G League or maybe go to the NBL or,
Mm.
something overseas. So
Right.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. So I was just gonna get to some lightning round questions, some quick questions just for fun. So all right, I gotta ask, who's been your favorite G League team to play with in 2K?
In 2K, um, I'd probably say the Texas Legends, more so because I grew up a portion of my life in Dallas. So actually graduating where the Legends play too in their arena, I've always kind of like when I say like I was speaking earlier, like reenacted, it's like I like playing with the Legends. It feels like that's kind of like my home team, my home base. So I'd probably say the Texas Legends over the years. If not the Legends, I would say maybe the Austin Spurs, just because that's kind of where I first started watching live D League at the time, G League games. So probably one of those two teams.
Is there a specific year of like a maybe a specific team from a certain year that you really enjoyed the most playing with? I know it's probably a little bit of thinking back, but
Yeah. I think the year Vander Blue, so Blue is probably like my favorite G League player all time, like from when I first started watching to now. So Vander Blue, I think it was the year he went to the Lakers, like the last two games. I don't know if you remember, they gave him a jersey and they had to like put the number two. It was like he was number 12, but the two looked like it was like off to the side, like it looked like they did it right before the game. So, but that year, I'd say but there wasn't even the G League on the game, but just that year, just playing with Vander Blue, I'd say, and just like reenacting like with him. I want to say he was on South Bay at the time. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite moments though, because like I had been following Vander Blue for so long, and to see him make the Lakers and stuff, that was pretty cool.
yeah, I think one of the best things about it is like when these guys do get called up, then I think what their like scan can come back if they're not in the game anymore because they're technically in the NBA. So like the whole licensing aspect. So that's also I think pretty fun too because then you get to kind of play with the guy again too. So yeah,
Love that aspect, man. Like you said that, like when a guy was in 2K, it could have been the year before, maybe in the past few years, but they've been scanned, they're in the game, and then they sign. That's probably the one thing that I look forward to, like when the season has already came and went, like who gets signed so they can have their player likeness back on 2K. Um, every year, like I remember there was a year I was like, I hope Sharif Cooper gets signed so he can get his player back, his player likeness. DJ Wilson, one of my favorite players as well. When he signed with the Sixers,
hmm,
I think that was 2 years ago.
yep.
I think he was brought back, and I was like, that I enjoy that aspect of it. I wish 2K would just keep the players in there, like let's keep them in there for like at least 5 years because I feel like within that time frame, they a lot of these players are, they bounce back and forth between leagues anyway, but that's just from like a roster standpoint. But yeah.
With 2K25, they introduced the Steph Curry era. I think that was a nice thing because you got to see some guys who were, I guess, in the game from that time period, and so in a way you were able to like probably like reuse them if you ever did like a G League My era or something. So I think that would be I think that was actually pretty cool, and I think that would be cool if there was like retro G League teams or something.
What's funny that you said that I thought about doing that one day. Like if there was just a little bit more players, I was going to try to do like a D League version, but like with an old era. And obviously like use the players at the end of the roster and just kind of mix it with some default. But I think that would be kind of a cool thing to do from a content standpoint. Like, like let's say the 90 something Bulls, but you have like the three of the worst players on the Bulls, they're the best players with a bunch of default against another team's like, 3 to 5 worst players. Like that would be kind of an interesting thing to show in content wise.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool. I guess like kind of speaking about content. So the next like lightning round question I have is, what type of advice do you have for somebody who's maybe starting out, maybe with like their own content or with gaming or basketball, and just creating content? What advice do you have for somebody who's just passionate like you are?
Yeah, well, step one, I would say find something that you actually want to do. Like I know some people do it, like are trying to do it to either get money or get, quick amount of views or whatever your reasons are, but just try to find something that you actually want to do maybe as well on the side. So that I mean, because if you don't like to do it, you're gonna get bored of it or you'll just stop doing it. As soon as you don't see any return on investment on it, you're gonna be like, why am I doing this? And trust me, I'm still in the process of trying to grow my page and my channels every day. And I have a family and stuff, so some days I look at it and I'm like, I don't really feel like doing this. Like when the G League season is going, or if I'm creating players and I'm like, this is just taking too long. I every time I'm just like, but I eventually find I enjoy doing it, so that always prevails every time, regardless. So I'd say, yeah, just finding something that you want to do, and then from that point on, I mean, yeah, I would say just be yourself too. Like you can follow the trends or do what you think will get you your views or your subscribers, things like that. Like that's cool. But like just be yourself though. So if you're being yourself, if that means like you don't want to show your face on camera, then just don't show your face. You know what I mean? But if you're a real personable person or you talk like shoot, I would say make that like be that character then. Like, but just be yourself. Like don't try to be, you know, something that you're not or and also don't just try to follow trends. Like just do what, you enjoy to do, what you enjoy doing. But like I said, I'm still in that process myself. Like every day, I still try to think about different things I could do. Um, going in, this is probably like what, year 7, I'd say. So year 7, and I haven't made money on this or done it. So it's just like at this point, it is just a passion. It's just something I enjoy doing.
Yeah, exactly. I feel very similar too. It's just like I think what you even said about like you have like other things too outside of it. I think that's super important when you're doing this because at the end of the day we're doing this for fun and we have other things too that just kind of can be there when we're trying to like take breaks. So I think that's an awesome piece of advice that you just shared.
Yeah.
I think for my last lightning round question, I like to ask all of my guests. I work in the film industry, so I gotta ask: do you have a favorite movie or TV show or something you've seen recently, either basketball or non-basketball related?
Um, so movie wise, nothing sport related, but like I like the 90s like hood movies. So like Menace to Society, Juice, Poetic Justice. But I would say like documentary wise, one of my favorite documentaries, I don't know if you've seen it, it's called Through the Fire. And it was Sebastian Telfair's.
Through the Fire. No. Oh, yes, I've heard of this. Okay, Sebastian Telfer. Yes, I have heard of it.
Yeah, so it was Sebastian Telfair's documentary, and it was kind of like I think it starts when he's in like his junior year of high school, or maybe it's his going into his senior year, but it kind of like shows like his life, like his family, his parents, and leading up to the point where he gets drafted to the NBA. That documentary I used to watch like every day in middle school, going up at high school. So yeah, Through the Fire. If you haven't checked that out, I would say check that out because it's basketball related, but it also shows like it shows him like, where he's from in New York, um, just the different things he had to go through to get drafted. Um, he's cousins with Stephon Marbury.
Mm.
So like he kind of shows like how he was looking up to his cousin and like seeing Stephon Marbury come back to where they live when Marbury was in the league stuff. So yeah. Very, very interesting film. If you ever get a chance, I would say check that out for sure.
Yeah, I think too. I know there's very similar in a way like hoops. Who's it? Hoops Dreams or I'm trying to remember. It's like the documentary. I think it came in the '90s about two kids.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Yeah, I think in Chicago, and it's kind of following their journey. And I think yeah, those documentaries are very cool because I think you kind of over time get to see because that's a lot of like years of effort they have to put into it. So it's like it's cool in a way of seeing how they like can really track their journey and seeing like all the challenges and things they have to like go through in that process.
Yeah. Yeah, like for instance, like with Through the Fire, so it's in Brooklyn. So like he shows like how like as he's getting bigger, you'll see like Jay-Z at his game. He was getting recruited by Rick Pitino. You'll see Derek Jeter, so they're showing all of that. So I love seeing like the grind, and I feel like that goes back to like the G League too, the D League, G League is like the grind of it to get to where you're trying to go. And like I feel like you can use that like in every aspect of life in some way, like just working for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish per se.
No, for sure, for sure. Yeah, the thing I love about the G League is yeah the grind definitely. So, but yeah, I
I got a
think
question for you though.
wait yes
So
yes.
like, and it doesn't have to be 2K, but like like if you could create a starting five, I guess I'll keep it 2K. If you could make a starting five of G League guys, current or former, like who would be your starting five, like on 2K?
Oh, good question. I think for me, I'm thinking about the players that the CPU I had a really hard time playing against with the CPU because I remember them the most. I'd say Tony Roan was like really challenging, so maybe him as my point guard or maybe
Yeah.
my two. Vander Blue, I definitely really liked, enjoyed playing with. So for sure, definitely him. Um, let's see, I'm thinking now small forward. I don't know why this is like popping my head, but I liked Nicholas Brusino when he was with, I think the Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I remember I liked playing with him. Oh, but my one of my favorite players in G League was Bruno Caboclo, like between the NBA and the G League. Huge Bruno Caboclo fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved him a lot. Um, and well, actually, okay. Let me try to see if I can. If I had like I'll say like center, but if I can also say like a six man, I actually am a huge fan. Growing up, I was a huge fan of this player named Marcus Thornton. He played at William and Mary. He played. I think he was drafted by Boston in 2015, and then came out. I think played at Sydney Kings, then went to the Maine Red Claws. I was a huge fan of him growing up because like the way he played was just super cool to me because like he wasn't afraid to like he was super athletic but he wasn't afraid to like fall down the ground and I think that always like stood out to me like growing up playing basketball like not like just having the confidence like he was a scorer and so I thought that was always very cool for me so I'd say maybe actually I'd have him maybe I put Vander at the 3 and maybe him at the 2 or something. But a lot of scoring there. But and then center, I gotta go with Simbular.
I
Because
was waiting for you to say that.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's a good question. But yes, definitely, but it's 5 to 6. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's dope.
Mm-hmm.
Tembular, I remember when they first put him in the game, he just felt like so his body just looked so like unproportionate or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's like he was like all legs and then like his he just like and then he's like what 7'5" like
His wingspan was really long too. I
yeah.
remember.
So like 2K has a way with like making like any player I'd say probably over 7'3" and above. It almost doesn't matter their rating. Like if you know how to like angle certain ways, you can get a block or a dunk. Like I mean they're dominant. So
Yeah.
same thing with like Taco Fall. That's why they use him with their my packs and all that to this day. Like those tall players like that, Bobo, like you can just they're literally a video game.
Yeah. But Elliot, thank you for coming on. Again, love what you've done with the Instagram. It's been awesome getting to see it grow over the years, and yeah, I'm really happy that people like you are doing what you're doing because it's just like the G League is continuing to grow, and we have more fans like coming to it, and I think this has been awesome. So yeah, man, thank you again for coming on, and yeah, just excited to continue to see your growth, man.
Yeah, no, no, thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah,
If you want to do anything again, man, just let me know. This is fun.
for sure, for sure. But this is the NBA 2K G League show. Peace.